So, welcome guys to episode 9, and I am with the illustrious and beautiful Nina Concepcion. And she's got an amazing brand, and I know this to be true because I've experienced it myself. I was there at one of her launches in her journey, in her entrepreneurial adventure. So, without further ado, I'd like to say thank you so much, Nina, for making the time to join us today and to share some of your gifts and your time with us and insights. So, I think this is going to be a really, really great interview for the community. Been really happy that you made the time to make it on this show. So thanks for coming.
My pleasure. Cheeks hurt from smiling so much just talking to you. So anything for you, Aaron, anything.
Thank you. So I just want the audience to get to know you because I've known you for a while, but maybe you could share with them, who you are, where your origins are, where you're based, and maybe how you came up with your brand. Do you mind sharing that?
Yeah, so I am now currently 30 years old. My background's Filipino. I was born in the Philippines and I moved to Sydney when I was about 1. So I pretty much lived in Sydney my entire life. I did live in Bali for a little bit. So I was staying with Aaron for a little while. So that was, I think 5-6 years ago.
Yeah, that was a great adventure.
That was so much fun. So I did live in Bali for a little bit, and then I decided to come back to Sydney because I missed my family too much. And then I met my partner on Tinder, funnily enough. And now we have a little girl and we live in the eastern suburbs of Sydney. So we live currently at Coogee Beach.
Wow, that's fantastic. So tell us a bit about, I will get to the Tinder part because I actually didn't know that you met at Tinder. I think you missed that out over the years, but we'll get to that in a second. So what about your brand? How did you come up? What is your brand name mean to you, and how did you come up with the whole concept?
Yeah. So I've been a coach now for years, and I was in real estate for 2 years before I became a coach, or a coach officially. But what I found was I really just wanted to help people. I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to help people have a better life. And I thought I was doing that in real estate. And I was. And what happened was sometimes when we achieve something for our life, what we see as possible for ourselves actually grows beyond our current reality, even if it's something that we thought was incredible. And so when I was in real estate, I saw the amazing Brendan Burchard speak. And I know that I introduced Aaron to some of Brendan's books.
Totally.
Absolutely love Brendan. And Brendan was the one, and Brendan was the one who I saw speak, and I just had this massive realization. I felt like it was a bit of a awakening. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm here to be a coach, a speaker, and an author. So I ended up going back to real estate. I was on my way to becoming I was already second IC in the company, but I was in the process of opening up my own office. I was saving to buy my property. I was going to be financially free in 5 years. That was the plan. But when I got back to real estate, my soul just felt like it was dying. And I was like, I can't be here anymore. So I left real estate and I pretty much fell into coaching pretty instantly after that. But I started off as a life coach and there was a bit of business. And about 4 years into my journey, I coached this woman and I realized that she had no paying clients. And I didn't understand because she'd done so many courses, she'd gone to so many events, she had a big network. And I just thought to myself, why doesn't she have any paying clients? And I said to her, I can show you how to do that. And so in the first 3 months of us working together, she got her first paying clients. Was the first seed that was planted in my mind that I'm really good at supporting women in getting paying clients, particularly coaches. And so pretty much that was 4 years ago now, about 4 or 5 years ago now. And so over the last 4 years, I've just been coming back to what feels in alignment with me. What am I being called to deliver? What are the aspects of business that I want to teach? What am I absolutely passionate about? Because I spent so much of my time wanting to do everything and be everything to everyone and anyone. And I realized that it was getting me nowhere. I was burning myself to the ground. I was just doing way too many things. And so right before I fell pregnant, I said to myself, I don't even know if I want to do this anymore. I don't even know if I want to be a coach or an entrepreneur. I'm like, who wants to be a leader anyway? I'm like, I don't want to be a leader. It's on my ego. And so I was going through this massive identity crisis. And what I realized when I started to open up space again, I remember saying to the universe, when my little girl was about a month and a half old. I know it doesn't sound like very much, but I'm very quick learner. And I thought to myself, I'm bored now. I think I'm ready to let whatever it is that I'm ready to do into my life now. And what occurred to me was, if I'm going to do this thing called business, I'm going to do what absolutely lights me up and nothing else. So I really started from scratch, and I've learned to accept that sometimes what we're being called to do, what we're being called to deliver, is not actually what we want to do, but
Mm,
it's what we're being called to do. Like Les Brothers is the analogy.
mm,
Destiny comes knocking at your door. You're like, no, not me. What about him?
yeah.
And Destiny, no, you. And you're like, not me. And so I feel like there's this bit of a dare happens. And so I've come to realize that there are just some people who are leaders. There are just some people who step up when they feel like they have no choice, when they feel a level of responsibility.
Mm,
And once you see that, when you watch superhero movies, when you watch a movie with a hero and a villain, there's always an element where the hero doesn't want to do it. They're like, I didn't choose this. Do you think I want to do this? And then when push comes to shove, when their friends are in danger, when the world's coming to an end, they're like, oh, I have to do something. So it comes from that space of wanting to serve, which allows us to get clear on what we're here to do. And so it's probably only been the last 8 to 12 months that I've started getting really, really clear that
wow.
I'm really good at helping people get paid. So my business name used to be called the New View, but now it's called the Institute of Conscious Sales. And I've literally just officially changed my business name a couple months ago. But that's pretty much what I do. I support people in bringing sales to their business, but in a very conscious way. People have such a bad perception of sales, when really I want to shift the way that we see sales. For me,
Mm,
sales is a co-creation, a synergistic relationship, a soul alignment of more parties coming together in
mm,
order for us to really serve each other, be able to express who we are and share our gift, also be able to serve the greater good.
that's powerful. So I love that you talked about three elements, and we'll probably expand on them a bit because we're both fans of personal development, meeting people and coaching, and we've been on a very long journey of evolution. But let's maybe touch on your brand a little bit, and I'll give some more time later on to talk about how you actually help people and what you got to offer in case they want to connect with you. But for now, let's talk about this level of conscious sales, because I really love what you said there, that you know a lot of people don't maybe sell in the right way, or they're afraid of sales. But why is it that you think people are then unconscious of what sales really is, and how would you maybe suggest someone could overcome sales? This is a very big topic for a lot of experts,
Mm,
practitioners, people, and they say, "Oh, sales is like Wolf of Wall
yeah,
Street." So, what's the point of difference for you, and
yeah.
how could you help someone make that shift?
So for those of us who are in personal development, we're very aware of cultural conditioning. We're very aware of, the fact that when we're told something over and over and over again, we tend to take that on board. We tend to take on the beliefs, the opinions, the thoughts, the feelings of the people around us in a way to be able to build rapport, and in a way
Mm,
to be able to fit in.
mm,
And one of those cultural conditionings that we have unconsciously taken on board is sales is bad. Only rich people are evil. Money doesn't go on trees. All of these things that we have been told about money and about sales. And often sales get such a bad rap because it's also human psychology. It's easier to remember something negative than it is to remember something positive.
mm,
And so when people think about a situation, often it's really easy to go to, oh, I remember that person that tried to push this on, such a negative experience. And then I just hate salespeople. I really don't like car salespeople and real estate agents. I think real estate agents is the top 3 most hated, like, um, occupations in the world. Like,
yeah,
they're the most
next
hated
to
people.
taxpayers, taxation people. That's true.
Yeah. And what I speak about in some of my training, some of my master classes and webinars, the fact that we can all stop and think about a moment that we bought something that we absolutely love. We just overlook it. And the truth of the matter is, if that person or if that brand or if that organization did not create that product or service, our life would not be as amazing, as fruitful, as fulfilling, as
Hmm.
easy as it is right now. If
Mm,
sales didn't happen, we wouldn't have foods, we wouldn't have computers, we wouldn't have jewelry, we wouldn't sometimes even have Tinder or connections, because
mm,
sales isn't just about the financial exchange. Sales is one form of communication.
Mm,
sales communication on steroids, right?
mm,
So one of the things I talk about so much is integrity, because if you do not to implement integrity in your personal relationships, it's going to be very hard to do it in business. And the
mm,
thing with business is everything is highlighted, everything is accentuated. So
yeah.
if you lie in your personal life, if you lie in business, you've lost that client like that. You
Mm,
don't often have a second chance. You don't
mm,
often have that leeway as like you do in your personal life. And so with sales, honestly, most of the time it's just conditioning.
yeah.
So if we just start to rewire and reframe our beliefs around what sales actually is, and remember that we're coming from a place of service, we're coming from a place of heart and integrity, then we can show up in a way that we can make a difference and be rewarded at the same time.
Wow. That's so profound that you said that. So why do you think people don't come from a space of integrity? And what does integrity actually mean in a practical sense for you?
Mm,
So a lot of people use this, and I do a lot of consulting with people, and there's a lot of business coaches now talking about, okay, let's come in and do culture transformation of your team. So the first thing we're going to do is put a plaque up on the
mm,
wall to integrity and remind people, but we know that
yeah.
doesn't actually translate. So what does integrity actually mean in a practical sense for you, that
Yeah.
you feel people can then take away to really understand what
Mm,
you mean about
yeah.
doing things in the personal space so that it can show up in the business space? We'll expand on that later,
Yes.
but what could you
Yeah.
elaborate?
I think one of the elements of integrity is
Mm,
do say what you say, what you intend on doing. And if you don't intend on absolutely doing it, then just don't say it.
mm,
So, for the simplest example is you catch up, you just run into an old friend or an old acquaintance,
yeah.
and you're like, "Oh, hey, it's so nice to see you." And they're like, "Yeah, we should catch up." If you have no intention of actually wanting to catch up with that person, societal expectations, you know, what do they call it? Expect you to be like,
Mm,
yeah,
but
yes,
like,
that will be cool. Let's catch up.
yeah,
When you have
politically
no
correct.
intention of actually,
Mm,
exactly, you have no intention of
mm,
actually doing it. So for me, that's out of integrity.
love it.
Instead, a way area, but I'm still in my integrity is let me know when you'd like to catch up and I'll see whether that works. Because
Mm,
I'm almost testing them. I'm saying, if you do want to catch up with me, then I'll assess where we're at, because the chances are I don't think you're going to end up messaging me, because most people
mm,
don't.
mm,
Most people
mm.
just say, let's catch up to be nice, but there's no intention behind it whatsoever.
Amazing,
People
amazing.
just say it for the sake of saying it.
Mm,
Another thing is under promising and over delivering.
yeah.
So I want everyone to remember that we're not here to be perfect. It is a muscle, right? So when I learned about integrity in real estate, I didn't realize how out of integrity I was until my boss started calling me out on it. He was my first coach. And he said to me, if you tell a client that you're going to give them or send them through some information by the end of the day, you make sure you send it through by the end of the day. You make sure that you can absolutely send it through. If you think you might be able to send it through by the end of the day, then tell them you'll send it to them by tomorrow. Because what you're doing is you're under promising and you're over delivering. So you're pretty much saying, I'll get it to you by tomorrow evening at the very latest. So if you get it to them today, they're going to be grateful. You
Mm,
always want to give yourself a little bit of a buffer, because
yeah,
life happens,
that's right.
stuff happens. So it's really important that when you're telling someone you're going to do something, do it.
Mm,
Do not say that you're going to do something if you have no intention of doing it. And there
mm,
is an element of people pleasing, right? A lot of the reason why we don't actually say to people, I'm not going to be able to do that for you, is because we want to save face, or
mhm,
we don't want to
mhm,
offend them, or we don't want people to not like us. When the truth is, they're unconsciously not liking you anyway if you don't honor your integrity. That you're unconsciously telling people that they cannot trust you if you're not honoring your word anyway. And people respect you more by being honest. So if someone says to me, Nina, can you do this for me? I'll honestly, if I really not think to do it, I'll just say, I'm really sorry, but that's my priorities at the moment. My priority is this and this. I'm happy for you to touch base with me in a couple months' time, and I'm happy to assess it then, but I'm not making any promises. So
mm,
a big part is getting over the fact that some people are not going to like what you have to say, but that's what it means to be in integrity. And a big part when it comes to business, and it's something that I realized, so I quote myself on this,
mm.
it
Go for it.
takes an entire or it takes an entire organization to build a brand and one person to break it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you do not train your staff, the people working in your business to have integrity, if a customer interacts with that person, they are going to assume that the entire business and everybody else in the business is the same. It's
Okay.
probably not, but there is an element that's being cooled down because a business can only grow to an extent that the owner grows.
That's true.
So it's so
Powerful.
important. It's so important that it's so important that we're looking at how are our staff showing up? What level of integrity are they showing up with? And are we calling them out on it? Something else that my boss used to say to me is integrity is taking full responsibility. So every week we'd have a meeting and he'd say, what are everyone's numbers? And some people would fluff on and make excuses, right? So the KPIs, the key performance indicators, was 4 market appraisals a week. And if someone's like, oh, I went to book this person in and then this happened and then this happened, he's like, how many? He's like, oh, I went to book it. No, how many? 2. Okay, great. Next. Like, I don't want to hear excuses. I don't want to hear why you haven't done something or why you have done something. Own up to what you've actually done and have integrity in that. And so another thing is, if you guys don't have the 4 agreements by Miguel Ruiz, Aaron actually got me onto that book, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I love
For
this book.
agreements.
It's
Yeah.
such a good book. It just
Simple.
ingrains a lot of this conversation around integrity.
Yeah.
So if you guys are like, this is really new to me, but it so makes sense, go and get that book. It's like this big. It's so easy to read. It's so easy to read.
Wow. Wow. So what do you think is different here? Because I've been on your journey and I love, I mean, we talk about the early days when you were on my journey with my crazy ass workshops I used to do. But something about you that I've always admired, Nina, is you, one, are very coachable, but 2, you take on a lot of information at such a big appetite. I remember sometimes I was even saying, you're reading too many books at the same time, but what's come to show over the time is you've translated that into actual action, and now you're getting, and I think you closed one of your biggest deals of $20,000 in a day or something with one client, which was really amazing to hear. Very rare. I think you're in the top 4% of people in business globally that do those sort of deals at that level and above. But what makes you think different to actually take that knowing and actually translate it into owning it and doing it versus a lot of people who probably know everything you know, but they don't action it and therefore don't get the results?
Yeah, I think there's a few elements to that. The first thing for me is I'm really good at prioritizing. So I think there is an element of gift. Like I do feel like I'm gifted in prioritizing, but I've also exercised that. Often what we're really good at, we've unconsciously already been doing for years, but we just value it and we enjoy it. So we get really good at it. So even though I tend to consume a lot of information, and I know it was my Achilles heel in my business, sometimes trying to do everything and doing way too much. But at the same time, I'm also really good at prioritizing. So I'm really good at looking at, and this is what I learned again from real estate, what are the high performing activities? What are the things that I need to be doing that is actually going to be generating the income in my business to sustain my business? So a lot of people spend a lot of time posting on social media, but not actually booking in any calls or speaking to any clients. And they are more important than posting. Posting is the bread and butter. Posting and generating leads and delivering value is the top of the funnel, the top of the sales funnel, the top of the customer journey. And then as you go further down, you're building a stronger relationship. But a lot of people are not clear on what are the actual activities that they need to be doing that's actually going to be generating an income. And for a lot of people, they just have not been trained in sales. Those people just do not know what high performing activities are. They don't know what that is. They don't know what the order is. And it's one of the things I teach a lot of my clients. And it's really simple when you see it, but a lot of people just don't know it. And the other thing is something that my boss in real estate used to say to me, I'm going to do my best to remember the exact word to me. I would rather be wrong and rich than right and miserable. And and at that time I had just gotten into personal development and I had this perception of having a lot of ego. I'm like, I want to be right. It's also something that I've ingrained from my dad. My dad loves to be right. And I had taken that on board. And I realized, wow, like I need to be willing to be wrong. I need to be willing to see what I am not currently seeing. I need to look at what I'm not currently implementing. I need to look at what am I doing wrong? What do I need to unlearn? And it's so funny because when you look at the people who are so adamant that they're right, they're often broke. So I was really, really willing to shed my ego and to constantly grow and learn and look at what am I not implementing. And I noticed that when I plateau, it's because I think I know it all. So I just need to check myself, and I need to hire a mentor, hire a coach, and then start realizing that there's still so much I don't know, and be humbled by that and keep moving forward.
Wow. Well, you mentioned your real estate mentor in a while. So what's the biggest lessons, or the top 3 lessons that you think he's really taught you that have helped you become successful today?
In real estate or in general?
I'll tell you in general.
In general. Being yourself is the single biggest factor that is going to support you in not only stepping into the work that you're here to do, but calling in your soul clients. Number 1.
So what are soul
the
clients?
Second thing,
this is really interesting. I use that term.
Yeah.
But what are soul clients to you? What does that mean?
Soul clients for me are fuck yes clients. They're clients that are like, oh, it feels so good. I fucking love talking to you. I love connecting with you. This is so fucking fun. I'm so happy for you. It's fun. It's easy. They're doing the work. I don't feel like I'm bashing my head against the wall wondering why the fuck are you not doing the work. They're like my best friends. Like I love connecting with them. It's so much fun. I feel so honored to be able to work with the people who I work with.
It's beautiful.
And
a lot of
vice
people
versa.
have
I know they feel the same about me.
heard that term in business. So I just wanted to just expand on it, highlight a bit. We'll come back to it. But
Yeah.
It's okay. The second thing?
Yeah.
The third?
The second thing is, if you do not honor your integrity, you can sabotage a relationship and future relationships that can branch off that one relationship. So if for some reason I'm not able to honor my integrity because we're human, I apologize for it. I own up to it. I'm so sorry I didn't get it back to you like I said I would. Next time I'm going to do this, but I'm going to make sure that I do it for you right now. Like, call myself on my own crap and own up to it. Something that really annoys me in a relationship, particularly in a business relationship, is if someone's just not willing to own up to what they've done. Like, it's fine. Like, I'm happy to move on. I just want you to take ownership for it and take responsibility, because that's the only way that you're really able to learn, is by taking responsibility.
I totally
And the
agree
third thing, and the third thing which ties into that is everything is mindset and self-responsibility. So I remember when I was still contracting and running my business, I did a post about this the other day. I'm not sure if I posted it yet, but I was writing it. I remember thinking, oh, I need to work in a job because I need to bring in a secure income, because I need to take care of my family. So taking care of my family means having a secure income. But I've come to realize that the biggest level of security I can actually have is me being in control of my business, because then I'm able to dictate how much money I make, rather than having a glass ceiling and getting fired, or having external circumstances actually dictate what happens with my family. And so, you know, some people still say to me, oh, I don't have the money for this, or they make excuses. The truth of the matter is, I did not get to where I am now making excuses. I made it work. I figured out a way. And something that a lot of mentors and teachers and coaches and leaders talk about is your ability to be able to trust yourself and know that you can figure it out is going to be the differentiating factor in you moving forward, because we often don't know a lot of what we need to know in order to become the level of success that we want to become, or be able to make the impact that we want to be able to make. But we learn, we figure it out along the way. When I decided to invest 20 grand working with my coach at the beginning of this year, when things really started shifting for me, when I started making consistent 10, 20K months, I had about $1,000 left in my credit card. And I didn't know how the hell I was going to pay 20 grand to work with her. But I decided I have to make it work. There's no other option. I burnt my bridges and I was like, I'm going to make this work. And then as soon as I put down that deposit, I made $11,000 worth of sales in 3 days.
Congratulations.
There's no accident. Thank you. But it's no accident that I invested in myself first. When I started making 20K months, it's no accident that I had just invested 19 grand in working with another coach. Like, it's not an accident. It's not an accident. And it's something that I feel like
proportion as well sometimes initially, right? And from there.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But people think that something's going to happen and then they're going to have what they need to have in order to be able to go hire a coach or hire a mentor or do whatever. But the thing is, and I use this quote all the time, Einstein says the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. I hop on a call with some people and they're like, oh no, I want to try and figure it out myself and I'm going to make some sales and then I'm going to come and work with you. And I'm like, I'm sorry, but it just doesn't work. I haven't actually seen it work that way with anyone who hasn't actually hired and worked with someone. Because if you could have done it, you would have done it already. And that's
right.
Unfortunately the harsh truth.
Yeah, then you wouldn't need
and the
me.
women who work with me.
Yeah.
Sorry? Exactly.
So then they wouldn't need you. Yeah.
And so the women that work with me, because they back themselves, the money is just a reflection of their commitment. When people pay, they pay attention. It's not about, oh, I'm going to try and figure it out myself. No, that's clearly not working. When they invest in themselves, they hold that vibration of, I'm leveling up, I'm stepping up, here is my commitment to myself, and then the universe backs you. You need to back yourself first. You are your first sale. I think people forget. I think it's also out of integrity to expect that people are going to want to pay for your services if you haven't even invested in yourself. So something that one of my first coaches, Jeffrey Slater, used to say to me, he said, yeah, love Jeff. He used to say to me, how can you ever expect anyone to invest in you as a coach if you don't invest in a coach?
Yeah. I was just talking to another client about this. It's about the blind leading the blind, So why do you think it's important, or probably, well, I know we share the value in this, but compulsory for a coach to have their own coach? Why do you think that's important, as you were saying about Jeff?
Why it's important for a coach to have a coach?
Yeah.
Is what you're asking?
Yeah.
It goes back to what we talked about before. It's important to be able to put yourself in a position that your clients are in. So if you have invested in yourself, you have the integrity of saying to a client, I know how you're feeling. You can work through this because you've done it. If you are not being challenged, if you are not being the student and the teacher, you are going to plateau and your students and your clients are going to surpass you.
Yeah. So true.
That's just, I think it's as simple as that.
So true. So now that you're in this situation of growing, and you touched on some of the amazing accomplishments that you have, what are you most proud of about yourself that you've accomplished in this whole journey recently, the last 12 months? What's some of the biggest accomplishments that you're most proud of?
I love this question. I'm so proud of myself for continually believing in myself. When things really started to come together for me this year, I remember I went to my partner and we were in the kitchen. I just started crying. I'm like, I'm finally where I want to be in my business. Wow. 8 years later.
Wow.
And I remember thinking, now that it's coming to fruition, I believe in myself the same as I did back then. The same as that day when I saw Brendan Bouchard and it all came flooding to me instantly. The vision that I had and the level of belief that in my heart, not in my head, because we can get in our own way in our head, but in my heart of, no, I can really make a difference. I can really help people. To really see it come to fruition when things are hard sometimes. Like I've gotten into debt so many times. I had to sell my property because I couldn't afford it anymore. Because when I was in real estate, I bought my own place at like 21, 22 in Sydney. I think I've maxed out my credit card, a $15,000 credit card almost 3 times. I've had to borrow money from friends and family and my partner. But regardless of what was going on externally, I just kept believing and I kept leaning into what feels in alignment with me. How can I just show up as the truest version of myself and be proud of who I am? Because it's not even about the money. It's not even about, oh, I want to make my dreams come true. It's not about that. It's about, when you go to bed at night, do you know that in your heart, do you know and do you believe that you gave it everything? Do you truly feel like you showed up as the most expressed, authentic, heart-centered version of yourself possible? Are you improving? Are you proud of that person? Or do you feel like you played it small? Do you feel like you played in your comfort zone? Do you feel that if you were to die tomorrow, would you have regrets? And so for me, having that level of, I'm really proud of what I've done, what I've created. It doesn't mean that I'm done. I'm still moving forward, But I'm so glad that I believed in myself, because it all starts with belief. If I did not believe in myself, I would not be where I am now, because my reality is polar opposites to where I was a decade ago, a decade and a half ago.
And you mentioned that you really felt you came to that hard place of being proud of yourself. But why is making that impact so important to you
Hmm.
with others?
I, yeah, I think at my core, I want to know that my life meant something. I want to know that I made a positive difference. I think that it's really easy for people to overlook the impact that you have in the world. It's really easy to have a shitty day and to take it out on the person that you buy groceries off and think that it doesn't affect that person, but it does. I think it's easy to be in a really, really good mood and give love to everyone around you and not realize how much of a difference it actually made to their day. And as well, because we just don't tell each other often. Like when someone makes me really happy, I say to them, like, you made my day. Like, I'm so happy that we connected, because we just don't share those things with each other very often. And sometimes when you feel like someone's ruined your day, as much as I feel like it's self-responsibility, only you can control your own inner state. But if someone reflects something to you that you're not liking and you blame it on them, there was an element of, one, you co-creating it, but two, of them being in a shitty mood and it affecting you. And so I believe that when we are doing our own inner work, when we are showing up, when we are honoring our values, our ethics, and we're being in a place of really being authentic and wanting to make a difference and care and love people and love all beings again, I truly believe that everybody would live a much happier life. And I believe that there's so much to go around in the world, and there's no need for people to be starving. There's no, like, I don't believe that, there should be anything like child abuse or sex slavery. I just don't think it should exist anymore. I think that we should be past that already. And so I just want to know that I'm doing my part. I want to know that I'm creating my ripples. And I'm, as Maya Angelou says, you're never going to know the impact of what you have in this world, because you'll affect that person will affect how many hundreds and thousands of people, and that person will go and impact hundreds and thousands of people. Like Brendan's was a catalyst for my journey, and he doesn't know how much people I've impacted, and I'm just one person. So if I can impact one other person the way that Brendan has impacted me, then I know that I've lived an amazing life.
Oh, that's powerful. I really love that. So what if that's on the side of accomplishments, and you mentioned a few things we might come back to if we have time, but what are the things that you feel maybe challenges or habits that you're still maybe working on that or you're aware are hindering the success or deeper experiences of this feeling that you're still working on at the moment?
Firstly, it doesn't end. It never ends. It never ends. Whenever I think it's ended, it hasn't ended. So I'm still always working on everything.
Yeah.
So at the moment, I'm getting hypnosis sessions.
Right.
And one of the things that I'm moving through at this current moment in time, and something that literally only came up for me in my first hypnosis session with this lady a couple of weeks ago, was that I had associated a high level of energy with a high level of anxiety. It was unconscious. I hadn't realized it. A lot of people that know me, they're like, Nina, I love your energy. I love how bubbly you are. Like, you're so full of energy. But I'm serving more than I've ever served. I've got more people in my container, and I've got more clients than I've ever had. So it means a lot of energy. And if I'm not looking at my energy, if I'm not looking and feeling into what's actually going on within my body and how I can nurture myself, I will get depleted. Like, it's happened before, and I can feel when it starts to deplete. And so I now do a self-hypnosis 2 to 3 times a day. And what I'm doing is I'm rewiring the belief that high energy means a high level of anxiety. So one of my mantras is that I'm passionately grounded. So I can be incredibly passionate, but it doesn't mean that my energy needs to be like, la, 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 I'm doing this and this and this. Like, I can be excited, but grounded in that excitement. And so that's one of the things that I'm currently working through.
So where else in your life do you feel this passionately grounded is benefiting you?
My relationship.
Let's talk about that. Time for Tinder now. So just kidding, next session. But how does being passionately grounded express itself as a woman and as a mom in your relationships, if you don't mind me asking?
first thing that I want to share is I was talking to a friend of mine who's single, and she's met a few guys, but they're just not up to scratch with what she's looking for. I believe it's important to have standards, and it's important to know what you desire and what you want. But at the same time, I think it's also important to be kind to yourself and to understand that there is no perfection. So the relationship that Gaz and I have now is very different compared to even a year ago. And Aaron, like I was sharing a little bit about that with you. I'm happy to go into details if you want to know a bit more. But I'll just finish this part and then I'll go into details. It was me actually, it took work and it took time and it took energy for us to have the relationship that we have now. I did not feel as supported and as seen and as heard and as, what's the word I'm looking for? As held as I do in my relationship now. But people think that you can just find that like that. Yes, some people can, but for some people like me, it takes time. And if I hadn't listened to my intuition, if I hadn't sat in the groundedness of how this relationship is actually serving me, then I wouldn't have given the relationship an opportunity to be where it is now. And I was talking to one of my other clients about this yesterday, the client who she's just sold her first $10,000 package 6 days into working with me. And something that was coming up for her was her relationship with her partner. And I told her a story. And I said to her, at the end of last year, I just turned 30. We were heading into 2020. And I thought to myself, something in my life needs to change. I am not going to be happy with my life if I am here in another year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. I'm happy with what I've done in the last decade, but I want things to accelerate faster. Like I've been comfortable over the last couple of years. And I remember part of what I was unconsciously doing was, if this is me and my partner's here, I'm like, I'll grow. And I'm like, are you coming? Come on. And then I'd like go and I'd stop. I'd be like, are you coming? Come on. And I'd be like, I'll go. And then I'm like, are you coming? And then I'd wait there to see whether he comes with me. And I got to a point at the end of last year where I decided I need to do this with or without him. With or without him. And I let go of the attachment of the fact that the attachment of whether we're together or not, because I know that I'm here to do what I'm here to do. And if he's the partner for me, then he will follow suit. If not, then it's not meant to be. And when I had this conversation with him, I honestly thought it was going to be the end. He's English, he's quite stubborn. He's someone who's always said he doesn't chase. So I'm just like, yeah, it's going to be the end. So it took me a few months to build up the courage to just come to really allow myself to see the truth of what it is and what I was feeling. And when I decided to invest into Kate, my mentor, it's funny how when you level up in one area of your life, you level up in other areas of your life. So often us investing in ourselves and working with a coach and a mentor, the reason why it's so scary is because we know we're raising our standard. It means that if we raise our standard here, it means that we're going to have to let go of other shit in our life that's not serving us. So it's not just about, that moment. It's about everything else in our life. And so I remember when I started to work with Kate, and it became so blatantly obvious for me. So I built up the courage. I had a conversation with him. I accepted that it was going to be the end of the relationship. So we broke up. But then very quickly, like within a couple of days, he was like, no, like I really want to work for this. I really want to try and be this for you. I really want to make more of an effort. I realize I've been taking you for granted. I realize I've been taking Lily for granted. I realize I've been overlooking this, and this. And as much as I loved hearing all of that, I also wanted him to be grounded in his decision. I didn't want him to do it for me because I know that builds resentment over the long term. I wanted him to grow for him, but also for us. And not just, oh, you told me you wanted this, so that's why I'm doing it. Like I did not want to have that sort of conversation. And so he has now leveled up in ways that has really surprised me. But it did take me making the decision first. It took me saying, I'm no longer going to hold myself back for anyone. And I'm going to go at the pace that I want to go at. And the people who are supposed to be on this journey with me are going to continue on this journey with me.
That's really amazing. And I love what you said about making the conscious decision for you to follow your mission and your dream and how you need that to happen, and then the people are going to be in your life who stay or not. And this is, I think, takes a lot of courage, and I wanted to really acknowledge you for that. But I would also probably feel from my experience coaching people that some people know instinctively they need to do this, but they don't end up doing it. So why do you think most people never make the decision at the end to have that conversation and and detach from the need to be in a relationship or not?
I think courage is a muscle. When I decided to confront the person who sexually abused me, it took a shitload of courage. And part of the reason why I did it twice. One when I was about 12, 13, and then the other time was just before I moved to Bali. And I said to myself, if I'm going to make the difference that I'm here to make, what is going to hold myself back? And I thought, what's my biggest demon? He's my biggest demon. So if I'm willing to forgive him and love him for being a human being, then there isn't anybody who I cannot give love to. And when I had to grow up really quickly, there was nothing that I felt like I could ever not do, because I tackled the biggest demons. I feel that if we're not cultivating courage and we're not honoring ourselves and we're not doing what we know is scary but that will support us, it gets really hard to make those big decisions if you're not exercising that muscle. I've been exercising that muscle for a really long time. So for me, it got to a point where when you're so clear on what you need to do for you, there's no other choice.
Yeah.
There's no other choice for me. And another thing other than courage is getting really, really clear that when you do not allow your mission to come through you, people are suffering because you can't get out of your own way.
Yeah.
And I know a big part of my vision and my mission is to eradicate child abuse and sex slavery. And particularly working with a lot of medicine, I saw a big part of what I'm here to do. And I remember before I decided to work with Kate, I thought to myself, oh, like you could hear parts of your ego come up. You're like, oh, I can wait 6 months. I can try and do this myself. All the things that other people say. I'm like, oh yeah, I could hear the thoughts. But I thought to myself, even if it means I need to take out a loan, but if I can accelerate my process, then how many more people am I going to be able to help over those 6 months?
Yeah.
And how many of those people are actually, it's like, are they suffering because I don't want to take out a loan? Like, what is a loan when people in the world are dying, when people in the world are being raped and sexually abused and sold, and they don't have anyone to support them? And I thought to myself, here I am in a first world country being like, oh, I don't want to take out a business loan because I don't want to get out of my own way. And I thought to myself, you know what, fuck it. Like, this is what I'm here to do. I want to make the difference that I'm here to make. People are suffering. I need to just get out of my own way. I will have to figure it out.
That's powerful. Now we're gonna have a whole interview on just that alone, and there's so many aspects of that. I know you and I, because we share the history with the sexual abuse and the trauma that brings up. But maybe just generally speaking, for now, because we're wrapping up, I've just got a couple of final questions just to give people a teaser of who you are. But this conversation on trauma, and now with the COVID times that a lot of people are maybe, I would say, externally traumatized. How are you overcoming, or how did you overcome the trauma? And you probably touched on it in engaging some of the demons, but how are you overcoming trauma, and how has that served you with this muscle in these new times that we're in at the moment?
There's a really famous saying that your personality and your strength of character really gets tested during tough times.
Yeah.
I think it's really easy to blame external circumstances. And I did that for a while. You know, when I first, because I blocked it out of my memory that I was sexually abused. And when I started to remember, I was so angry. I fell into depression. I was hurting myself. I hated everybody. I was really angry. I was a really angry girl. And I just realized that didn't, I just realized it didn't serve me. I'm like, I'm so angry. Like, I feel like I'm angry all the time about everything, and I'm snapping at everyone. And I didn't want to live my life that way anymore. I was spiraling down. And for me, yes, things get hard. It's just part of life. But I look at, what's the silver lining in this? What am I learning from this? Pressure creates diamonds. Right. So how is this situation going to make me stronger? And what's so interesting is, because of COVID, people are being forced to look at themselves. People cannot keep running. And so I feel like COVID has put up a massive mirror in front of people. So if there's society, I feel like everybody in the middle of either leveling up or not leveling up have been divided. People are either leveling up or they're not. They're either stepping up or they're giving up. And, you know, I've had to fire quite a lot of clients when COVID first hit, because they just fell into a massive victim state. They weren't taking self-responsibility. They were trying to project on me. And I just won't take that. Like, I'm not here to work with those sorts of people. But I didn't see the side of them until COVID hit. But the level of people that I'm working with now, and the connection that I have with the people who I have the honor of being able to work with, is such a different caliber, and the level of results they're getting is just phenomenal. You know, I speak to some people and they're like, oh, it's so nice to hear that COVID hasn't really affected you negatively. It's so nice to hear a positive story. Everyone I've spoken to has a positive story. I don't think I really know anyone who's been significantly negatively affected. And it's because I haven't surrounded myself with those people who are in that mindset. I'm surrounding myself with those people who are growing. I'm surrounding myself with those people who are like, I'm making more money than I've ever made. I'm impacting more people than I've impacted. I'm leveling up more than I've ever leveled up. Because the truth is, people need us now more than ever.
Yeah.
More than ever. So
true.
if you cannot lead yourself, how are you going to lead others?
Snap. Nina, this is so good. We could go on, and you know, we literally could go on, because we've tested that out for weeks.
We have gone on for like a week.
I know, right? We'll talk about that adventure next time. So just a couple of final questions, because I think we've touched on at least 6 areas that are really so close to my heart about what this platform is about, which is that 360-degree leadership, and having and taking full responsibility for the results, so you can have the power to change them if you need to, or level up. So I really love where you're going with this, and I think we'll probably get you on a few shows. But maybe just quickly, because a lot of people are already so inspired by your journey and your way of expressing this conscious sales. What are you working on now that you're excited about, that maybe people could have an idea about, and how would they best reach you? What socials do you use? And what's the best way to connect with you from here?
Yeah. Thank you, Aaron. So at the moment, I'm building up my funnel so that I can start automating and servicing and working with more people and making a bigger impact, because there's only so much time that we have available.
That's right.
And so by the time this gets released, it's going to be up, which I'm really excited about. So I've got my 5-step guide to consistent 5-figure month. So 5 figures is obviously 10 grand. So 10 grand plus, that's in Australian/US dollar currency, depending on where everyone is in the world. So it's quite a lot of money for a lot of people, especially in other areas of the world.
In these times.
So that's the guide. Sorry?
Particularly in these times. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We're going to make it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a 5-step guide. It's really simple. It's free. So that's going to be available at conscioussalescoach.com. So you just put in your email and then you'll get emailed the free guide. I'm also building out a conscious sales certification. So for those people who want to teach how to actually how to teach their clients to make conscious sales, if you want to become a conscious sales coach, then that's something that I'll be building out as well. So when you opt in for the document, you'll see my emails. You can contact me via that way. You can also reach out to me on Facebook, which is facebook.com/The Naked Coach. So I built my entire brand on Facebook organically without paying ads. So that's one of the ways that you can reach me, where I'm always giving content. There's also my free Facebook group, which is, you'll see it on my Facebook page, but it's Conscious Sales. It's a Conscious Sales Facebook group. There's literally hours of free video training on there. Like, I think there's like 20, 30 hours of free training on there for people. And I've also got my Conscious Coaching 101 program, which is for people who want to become a paying coach in 90 days or less.
I love those. That's really powerful. So
I will have, sorry, Aaron, I will have instituteofconsciousales.com up, but that won't be up for another few months. So if you guys do want to connect, if you want to get the free doc, then the easiest way to do it is conscioussalescoach.com. And if you want to connect, then Facebook is the easiest way right now.
Wow. Okay. No, that's perfect. And I'll definitely put in those plugs by the time they're there. And then if it's okay with you, once you launch the Institute of Conscious Selling. Is that right?
Sales website. Yeah.
Conscious Sales website.
Sales, yeah.
I'd love
Yeah.
to get you back on, and then we can promote that.
Yeah.
Because I'm really
Yay!
big on the word institute for so many reasons.
Yeah, it's so hot. It's so sexy.
That's
it's professional, but it's amazing and it's good. It's exciting.
That's the juice, man. That's the juice. So just a couple of final questions here, and I'll let you go. I know you're busy as well, but just to honor your time. So first one, Nina, I'd love to publicly now, I do this privately, I'm sure, but maybe never enough, but I'd love to just honor you for your courage, and more importantly, you've always had this amazing energy, and I think everyone who knows you knows that. But I've been on your journey. We've been really, really close friends, soul connection, I think, from day one to now. But just the fact that you're really taking on life in its full form and engaging in it, but just the level of authenticity you've always had to communicate your truth in the moment, that's something I've always admired about you. And now to feel this new energy you have, which is this passionately grounded feeling, and seeing you have a family and seeing you with your partner go through these transformations of actually creating what I think is an ideal relationship for you, and just having the tenacity and the commitment to do that, and not use your daughter or your partner or the situation as a crutch to not become the person that you're meant to be, so that we could benefit globally for this amazing woman that you've become, that's so conscious. So I just want to say, honey, like, I'm so proud of you, and I'm really grateful that we are still connected, and I'm enjoying seeing the growth that you've been on this whole period. So thank you so much for sharing this with us.
You're bringing tears to my eyes, Aaron. I love you so much. Like, I think the first time we connected, it was like a 5-hour catch up or something. You're like, oh shit, I didn't realize it was going to go for this long.
Yeah, I remember
But
that.
yeah, we've definitely always had such a beautiful connection, and I'm so grateful for you. Like I was saying to you before, that time in Bali is like one of the highlights of my life.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it will always be. And I'm so grateful. And thank you so much for being on the journey with me and growing with me and encouraging me. So I appreciate you so much.
No, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And I think many more interviews on different levels as we keep up leveling the scale. So really excited. And I'll definitely encourage my tribe, and a lot of our women, as I told you, are female entrepreneurs. So I feel there'll be a couple of synergies coming our way as we evolve. So just a couple of final questions. So one of them is like, I love to ask people this question, because I think it really ties in with what you were saying about what you want to live on this life. So imagine, you know, the content that you're creating is out there, you become successful in reaching as many people as you could, and you've taught and transformed the world. Like, you become, I would say, even a bigger version of Brendan Burchard, with a massive impact that then connects with other people being impacted before you leave this planet. But just imagine that you can't leave any of the digital content, you can't leave any content, sorry, you can't leave any of the books, you can't leave anything behind except a pen and a piece of paper in a few minutes for you to share the 3 truths of what you would like people to remember you by. What would those 3 things be?
Be yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Honor yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Love yourself unconditionally.
Oh, snap. Thank you so much for sharing that, Nina. And just wanted to say, I'm so excited to definitely get you on board. We have to go deeper into some of these topics. And just want to say thank you so much for the time. This has been amazing. And I think so many people in our community are going to benefit from this. So thanks again. Look forward to bringing you back on the show.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.